Let's now turn to the Pentagon for more on what the Coast Guard says will be a challenging mission to find this missing submersible with its 5 people on board. Again, 13,000 feet deep. Oren, you're at the Pentagon. Tell us more about the different search capabilities that are heading to that area.
Alex, a few different types of aircraft taking part in this search, each with their specific search and rescue or search and recovery role. First, both the U.S. and the Canadians either have launched or are ready to launch C-130 Hercules. These are 4-engine aircraft designed specifically for long-range, long-endurance patrols. So they're able to stay up for an extended period of time and search the surface of the water, whether that's for debris or if the submersible surfaced and lost communications. So they're likely in charge of that role, given that this could be quite a large search area. Canada has also launched a P-8 Poseidon. Brian mentioned this is a submarine hunter, and that's what its specialty is. It has different ways of detecting the mass of a body of metal underwater, and that's what it will try to focus on. The challenge here is that this submersible is far smaller than an enemy submarine, but to its advantage, at least this submersible wants to be found. One of the ways it will search is with what are called sonar buoys. It drops these into the water, and these listen for any sound or acoustic signature. Sound obviously travels very well underwater, so these can hear for miles in different directions. And if there is some sound, you can use a few of these different sonar buoys to try to essentially triangulate or zoom in precisely on the location of where this submersible may be. Crucially, for these to work, the submersible has to make some sort of sound, so that's one of the key questions that remains here. Earlier today, there was a press conference from the Coast Guard. They said there are commercial ships on the way. They will bring additional search capabilities, and they'll keep those aircraft up. A Canadian Coast Guard ship is on its way, having left Newfoundland a few hours ago, according to marinetraffic.com. It's making its way south-southeast towards the search site, towards where that submersible may be, so it's still hours away, but they pointed out that there are at least theoretically 96 hours of survival capability for the submersible. So, Alex, the clock is ticking. The search assets are out there very much looking to see if they can find where this submersible may be.
Clock is ticking. The search is on. Oren Lieberman at the Pentagon, thank you very much. I want to now bring in retired Naval Captain Bobby Scully for more insight on how the search and rescue effort is unfolding. Captain, thank you so much for joining me. We've been talking about the depth of this water, the distance that this search site is from the coast, 900 miles off the coast of Cape Cod, a little bit less off the coast of Canada. To what extent is looking for this submersible is it looking like a needle in a haystack, if you will?
Well, thanks for having me, Alex. And first of all, I want to say my heart really goes out to the crew of the submersible, and also I want to say good luck to all the men and women that are out there searching. But as with any search and rescue operation out at sea, it is a bit like searching for a needle in a haystack. But in this case, unlike some of the rescue search missions that I've been on for aircraft, in this case, they knew exactly the location that they were starting with this submersible. So they have a good datum for where to start the rescue or where to start the search. And that's very important in this case. So they know a starting point. The depth of water causes this to be a much bigger area to search in. So that's going to increase the haystack. But they have a lot of assets on station already with the aircraft in the air, and they're bringing in all the right other resources that they need. The sonobuoys are fabulous to get into the water column, and that's what they need to do with having the depth of water that they are addressing. So they have a lot of smart people in the Coast Guard and in the Navy and some of the commercial assets to get a multi-pronged approach to start chipping away at this haystack. And the 96 hours is a short amount of time, but these resources are very effective.
Yeah, Captain, you, like the Coast Guard Admiral we heard from earlier, did emphasize the importance of sonar here. What is it that those buoys and those capabilities will be listening for under the surface of the water? How does that work?
Well, with sonobuoys, they're listening for sound, and the submersible is going to be making sounds itself with the systems on board, the mechanical systems, and that sort of thing. The crew hopefully are making noises as well. You can go back to, the movies that you watch, when we're hunting submarines, the enemy submarines are not making any noise because they don't want to be found. Well, in this case, this submersible wants to be found, so its systems are running. The crew is making noise, and those sonobuoys are picking up. They're very good, and they're detecting these noises. I imagine that the other systems that the ships are bringing are the side scan sonars or that type of thing that we use typically to pick up metallic debris on the bottom, or in this case, a metallic submersible, which is a larger piece of metal. And so I imagine that we're bringing in some of the side scan sonar or the sonar that picks up metal, in addition to the
Right.
sonogram that detect the sound. So I don't know, but I would imagine that between the military and the Coast Guard that they're bringing in these other assets.
Right. It has now been more than 24 hours since this submarine and its 5 passengers went missing. We understand that there is around 70 to 96 hours of air on board. That's really the sort of extent of that. So, can you still hold out hope? Are you still optimistic at this point that this submersible can be found with its passengers alive?
Oh, absolutely, I am. Because the hard part is finding the submersible. And once they find the submersible, there's all sorts of situations of how to get that submersible to the surface, and rescue the crew. Um, and there's many different options that just come to my mind, and I don't have all the details of what the situation is. There's remote operated vehicles that can get to that
Right.
depth, that
Right.
can go down and attach something to the submersible if the submersible it is without power, and that could be part of the problem with communications and with mobility on the
Right.
submersible. So we have remote operated vehicles that can be gotten out to the scene relatively, I don't want to say quickly, but within
Hmm.
that time period. So there's all sorts of scenarios that very smart people are looking at that
Okay.
could recover that submersible.
Well, we are certainly comforted by your confidence. Retired Captain Bobby Schooley, thank you very much for your time and your perspective this evening.
Thank you, Alex.